Today, I am going to show you my curly hair tutorial using Curlsmith products. Now, I just recently cut bangs, so I will also show you how I style those as well. But I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. I just got out of the shower where I shampooed and conditioned my hair. And then once I got out, I got dressed, I did my makeup, so you can see that my hair has dried out quite a bit. So I'm using this continuous spray bottle, which is filled with just water to completely soak my hair, right? I want my hair to be super wet. It needs to be dripping. And this is really important because this is what is going to allow that product to really work. So, the first product that I go in with is a curl cream. And when your hair is really, really, really wet like that, it's going to allow that product to soak into your hair and absorb that product so that it works to moisturize like it should. So you can see I just go throughout my entire head and I just re-wet all of the hair that has dried out until once again it is dripping. Um, and you can see in just a minute where I go and I'll squeeze my hair so you can see all that water dripping out of it. But I just make sure I get all of the sections really well up by the roots, down by the ends, and then I go through and I just feel and make sure that I spread that water out. There you go. Okay, so now that we have that done, I like to go ahead and grab my curl cream. So, the curl cream that I am using is the Hold Me Softly Style Balm by Curlsmith. Um, and I really wanted to try these products. I had never tried these products before, but they work so well. Now this has, much more of a muted smell. Smell is really important to me in hair products. I really like a good smelling product. And this has a very minor, like, low key, scent to it. And so I take that just like a dime size amount for one side of my head, and I'll just spread it through thoroughly. And there you can see I'm grabbing some more and I'll spread it through on that side. And you can go through afterwards and brush it through. I know a lot of people like to do that, but for me, I usually just use my hands and that works well enough. I just make sure it's spread through really well. So after we have used the curl cream and I make sure that it is spread through thoroughly, I'll go ahead and grab the gel. So the gel that I'm using here is the Curlsmith Hydro Style Flexi Gel. You can see it has between like a medium and maximum hold, which for, what I'm doing is perfect. If I were to be, I do live in the South, and so if I were going to be outside a lot, in the humidity, like in the summertime, then I would choose one with like a maximum hold. However, I'm not going to be outside. It's not super humid right now, so this will be perfect. Um, but as I was saying, so I really wanted to try these Curlsmith products. I had never tried them before, but at Ulta, I found a deal. It's for me, if I'm not sure that a product is going to work really well, then I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. But I found a buy one, get one free on the travel size, and I went for it. So we're trying it. So after you spread, just like you did the curl cream, you spread the gel all the way through your hair thoroughly. And you can see now I'm clipping it up into sections. So I've sectioned it off. I'm going to use this curl brush to create clumps, right? Because our hair is still soaking wet. Um, but running our fingers through it a lot has broken up those clumps. So what we are doing is we're reforming the clumps by brushing through, and the ends of that brush there, you can see help those clumps form back together. Um, and in order for it to work, you do need your hair to be really, really wet. It's not going to work if your hair is dried out. Those clumps will not reform. So go through just section by section, and then I like to take it and scrunch it up a bit. And then we're going to go over to the other side and do the same thing. You're just going to take little sections, and you want the brush to go underneath the hair, right? Underneath and up. And you want to pull it away from your head. That way it's going to create good volume, right? So start at the roots, go outward, and you can see how the hair kind of flows outward now instead of just going straight down. And that's going to really help with volume. So there we go. I scrunch it up after I've used the brush, and it helps to really just get those curls um, curling up really well. And then I'll go through, and I don't want to neglect the back because I know sometimes that can be a pain, is getting the back of your head when you can't see it well. So I always just make sure to go to the back of my head and curl that part out too. Okay, we're going to speed it up a little bit, but as you can see, we go through each section layer by layer, and we're going to take that brush, go underneath, and clump those curls back together, and then scrunch it up. And then we're going to the back and just make sure we get the back sections too. Now I'm going to do this last little section. I do have bangs, so I can explain what you will do if you don't have bangs. But we're going to go through and we're going to do each of these last little sections like this. My nose is itchy. You can see it. See me trying to scratch it. And then get that back section. Okay. Now, once you get to the top, the back part, like the crown of your head, I like to take, even if I don't have bangs, this is what I do. So I will take, and the sections aren't perfect. I'm not using a brush or anything, but I just section it off little by little and use the brush again. And you can see how I go up and back. And this makes it so there's not like a perfect part. If you want a perfect part, obviously, you could part right down the middle and do your curls off to the sides. Um, but if you want, like how I'm styling it, so that there's not just like one perfect part and the curls kind of just lay where they fall. This is how I do it. So then with this section, I'm going to go forward with the brush and clumping the curls, and then kind of just throw it back, scrunch a little bit. And here is where I've got to figure out where my bangs are and where the side pieces are. So for me, the easiest way to do this is to part it down the middle. So you'll see I kind of part it a little bit, trying to figure out, okay, where are my short bang pieces? These are my side pieces. And then kind of position everything where they should go. And you can see the longer side pieces. I go ahead and use the brush, run it through, scrunch it. And then I'll do that with the other side as well. All these little pieces like to try to get into my bangs. All right, we'll scrunch that up. Now, when we get to the bang section, for me, it's kind of just something each time I style them, I just kind of have to play around with them a little bit. Um, Sometimes I can go in and just finger curl them, which I like to do a lot. At other times, I will go in and use the brush to clump them together, and that's good enough. And then sometimes I kind of do a mixture of the two, just depending on how my hair is responding to me that day. Um, so here you can see I start to finger curl, And some of them haven't clumped together very well. Um, so here I am trying to use my fingers to clump them together. I end up taking the brush and I'm like, okay, let's just clump them together with the brush. Then we'll go back through. Okay, see, now you can see they've clumped together a little better. And then I'll go back through and I'll kind of twist them up a little, finger curl them a bit, and try to get them looking somewhat decent. And they always turn out looking different. Their curly hair is not an exact science, right? But I think that's also the beauty of it is that it's not always going to look exactly the same. It's not going to look perfect, but I don't know. It's fun. It's fun that it's a little messy and a little wild and untamed sometimes. So here we go. I continue to just go through and finger curl and get those longer pieces out of there. And I find that styling the bangs, or at least getting them like sectioned off from the rest of my hair before I blow dry, is really helpful for me. Some people will just go in and blow dry and then their bangs fall and it kind of just looks great, at least in videos that I've watched. That seems to be what it looks like. For me, when I do that, it turns out a little crazy and like my bangs are mixed in with my longer hair, and pulling them apart is just kind of tricky. It makes it a little messier. And so I find that sort of getting the bangs at least somewhat kind of together and separated from the rest of my hair first before I blow dry makes them easier to manage and makes them come out looking a little better. All right, so you can see there that I have um, gotten them mostly figured out now. And make sure I'm positioning them okay, because once I start to blow dry, right, that cast starts to form and they're going to want to stay more in place after that. So just when you think you're done, you find some random stragglers. Okay, we've got things mostly positioned now, it looks like. Okay, so now we're going to take the blow dryer. We have things positioned where we want them. So for this first part, when we are forming the cast, I like to take it on high heat and on maximum airflow, since we're not actually like touching the hair. Um, this works out perfectly. So I'll take that and you can see I just hover it above the hair. I go on each side and then I go to the back for just a couple minutes in each area. And we'll go through, and again, that this just sets that cast so that the humidity doesn't affect our frizz. Sorry. So that the frizz is not as extreme. Again, I live in the south where it is very humid. So this part is important to me. This step is important to me. Um to reduce frizz. So you can see we just hover it above all the hair, and then once we're done with that, I like to turn it down to low, right? Low heat and low airflow. And this is where we are actually going to be um, like scrunching our hair into the diffuser. So, in order to maximize volume, I will gently flip my hair from one side to the other and blow dry it like that. I feel like this gives me the best results when diffusing for volume. Um, just make sure when you're flipping your head from one side to the other, just do it really carefully and gently so that you're not like breaking up those curls and those clumps. You want them to stay together while you're diffusing. So you can see we just go through and I just take it section by section, and maybe for like 10 seconds each, I will. This is sped up, but in real time, it's about 10 seconds each for each section. Now, diffusing your hair like this with it flipped side to side is not only going to help reduce frizz and increase volume, but it's also just going to help the movement of your hair so that it's not stiff and so stuck in one position. Um, But here you can see that I have flipped my hair back over to the other side now, and we're diffusing that side. So, yeah, this is going to allow for a lot of flexibility with your hair and free movement so that it doesn't feel like it's just stiff and stuck in one position. You can kind of move your hair around and you can even flip it, if you want, and it's not going to feel too stuck in one position. So go through and just continue section by section diffusing. And then once you're done with that side, I just go to the back and I make sure I get the back well. And there we go. Now I'm just moving things around, make sure things are looking positioned how I want them. Still feeling pretty damp on the sides. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that I don't scrunch and diffuse my bangs. I want them to, if I do that, they will scrunch up and curl up really, really short, and I prefer them a little longer. So I don't do that. So you can see there on the longer sides, I'm going in and diffusing those parts. And then my bangs, I usually just hover over them to make sure they dry well. And there it is. It is about, I would say, maybe 60% dry. And now we're just going to wait until it's fully dry. Here are the results once it is actually, this is, I wouldn't say this is 100% dry. I would say this is maybe like 95% dry. But this is the point where I like to go in. There's a close up there. I like to go in once it gets to this point, about 95% dry, and I'll take an oil. This is just a hair oil from my local farmer's market, so I don't have like a name for you that I can give. Um, but I just take this oil and I will scrunch out the crunch. I'm sure you've heard that before, but you're breaking the cast, right? You're scrunching out like the crunchiness so that it's not looking and feeling crunchy. You want it to feel soft and have movement. So you can see I just go through and I do it gently. This is sped up again, but I go through and I gently just scrunch through each section of my hair, and I'm breaking that cast. I'm getting a little more hair oil. I'm getting the back. Again, you always want to make sure you get the back. Get the bangs. Oh, and I've got a friend who wants to say hello. This is Blue, and he's been staring at me during this whole video. Okay, so we're going to finish scrunching out the crunch. You can see all my gray hair. I'm in my mid 30s and I got a nice big streak of gray hair. My husband says I look like Rogue. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's okay. I'll take it. Okay, so you can see I'm just kind of going through and positioning the curls how I want them. And now we are 100% dry. So you can see Showing you how it's looking now that it's fully dry. And I will say, as the days go on over the next couple days, I will have more and more volume. So the volume just increases over the next few days. I'm flipping over my hair now that it's 100% dry. Sorry, I'm kind of, out of frame, but I'm going through at the roots and just kind of shaking my roots a little bit. All right, and there you have it. So once I've done that, we're all done. Again, over the next couple days, my hair will have more and more volume, and I may need to do some refreshes, but that's my curly hair routine. And I hope that it'll help some of you, and I look forward to sharing more curly hair tips. See you next time.